Today's passage to read is Daniel chapter 5, verses 1 to 6, 13 to 17 and 23 to 28. The story of King Belshazzar is an exciting narrative, and if you have time, just read the whole chapter. If you know the music of William Walton's cantata, Belshazzar's Feast, you will be unable to read this without hearing the music in your head, and that's my experience. Surely there can be no more eerie and dramatic setting of the words inscribed on the wall by the fingers of a man's hand. Mene, mene, tekel and parsin. You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. And the crash of percussion when the singers announce Belshazzar's murder that night when he was slain. Found wanting. It's such an extraordinary understatement for the blasphemy that he was perpetrating, carousing with the sacred vessels of God from the temple. Weighed in the balance. Do you remember those old-fashioned grocery scales where there were two pans and you put the weights on one side and the produce on the other, and they had to balance level? The prophet Amos once spoke about holding a plumb line up to Israel as a builder would do to a wall. Is it straight? Does it measure up? And no, the nation was not straight, it was crooked. I wonder if that's why we use the slang word crook for a lawbreaker. Walton's music and the story itself is brilliant, dramatic and exciting stuff. And we all enjoy the downfall of a villain getting their comeuppance. It so rarely happens in this life that it's so satisfying when it does. There's much prayer in Scripture that God will right the wrongs of the world and punish the evildoers and reward the righteous. And mostly that hope is put off until the next life, since we so often see things working out differently here and now. And that's all fine, but perhaps we just need to hesitate a moment and check. Where do we actually stand ourselves? In that balance, on the scales, how will my life be measured? Can I be sure that the villains are that lot out there, that evil is elsewhere? Or do the powers of evil ever make inroads into my own mind and heart and thinking and actions? And if I'm really honest, yes, they do. One of the words used in the New Testament for sin is hamartia, which literally means missing the mark or falling short. Imagine an arrow shot from a bow and dropping before it reaches the target, or hitting the target but not in the gold. I find this a helpful way of understanding what is meant by sin. It's not just that sometimes we do something wrong, though that certainly happens. It's more than that, and it kind of infects our whole lives. We fall short. We don't reach our potential as human beings. We could be so much more. Look at Jesus as a model of what a human being can be. Set aside his divine miraculous powers, just look at the way he lived. There isn't enough on my side of the scales to bring the two pans level. So, whilst we rejoice with the Jewish people in the downfall of their enemies and the victory of their God, enjoying the triumphant song of praise at the end of Walton's piece, we acknowledge our own weakness and inadequacy. We ask for the forgiveness and strength of God, and we give thanks for that love which continues through all our failings and constantly strives to bring us up to the mark, to help us to truly live as God's sons and daughters.